Good Saturday morning, South Florida. I'm Carly Barnett. Thank you for joining us. It's 9 o'clock, and here's what we're working on right now. As coronavirus numbers continue to rise, there are new warnings for businesses and the public about social distancing. And the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating a deputy-involved shooting in Wilton Manors. We have the latest details. And marking the end of slavery, how Juneteenth was commemorated here in South Florida.
This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
9 o'clock on Saturday, June 20th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carly Barnett. First, to start our Saturday, we send it over to meteorologist Jennifer Correa with a look at our forecast. Hey, Jen, good morning.
Hey, Carly, good morning to you, and good morning, South Florida. Happy Saturday, a beautiful...
Thank you, Jennifer. And now to the reopening of South Florida and the concerning rise in COVID-19 cases. It's making news nationwide. Governor Ron DeSantis continued to downplay those numbers, saying expanded testing of younger people is leading to the spike. So here's what Florida's trend looks like. The state confirmed more than 3,800 new cases yesterday, shattering the previous one-day record. More than 800 of those are in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Each day, the state also announces the percentage of confirmed cases from within the batch of new results. So that number has climbed to 10%. And for perspective, just 2 weeks ago, that was above 3%. So when it comes to this weekend, Miami-Dade County leaders say the warning period is over. People who don't look out for the health of others or themselves could quickly get the attention of police. CBS 4's Ty Russell has the latest.
A warning from Miami-Dade leaders as we approach Father's Day. Also CBS 4 This Morning.
In other news this morning, a shooting in Broward County involving 2 sheriff's deputies as they try to stop an armed man. CBS 4's Mike Cunio has new details from Wilton Manors.
A deputy-involved shooting in Wilton Manors. CBS 4 News.
The calls for change continue as this year's commemoration of Juneteenth came to an end. It was a day that's taken on new meaning and received much more attention this year. Here in South Florida and across the country, countless events helped remember the day that marked the end of slavery 155 years ago. CBS 4's Hank Tester has a look.
A little known but important date in United States history. CBS 4 This Morning.
And still ahead on CBS 4 this Saturday morning, Juneteenth was also a day of demonstrations against racial injustice. So coming up next, the latest calls for change, dozens of young people leading the charge in South Florida. Also, President Trump's first rally in the age of coronavirus. 19,000 people, no masks and no social distancing, one packed arena. The latest from Tulsa, where it all happens today. And helping hands and positive attitudes, the inspiring partnership that is making Miami proud. Welcome back. New calls for change in South Florida for an end to systemic racism. Peaceful protests also coming on Juneteenth. This is now the 4th week of demonstrations here and across the country following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis last month. CBS 4's Peter Dench takes us to Miami for more on their message.
A peaceful protest at the Torch of Friendship. CBS 4 This Morning.
Taking a look at Campaign 2020, plenty of President Trump supporters are camped out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, trying to get a prime spot at his first rally in months. Now, this is the first time the president, or anyone for that matter, will be inside of a packed arena since the coronavirus pandemic began. But even more controversy surrounds the event tonight, as health experts wonder if it's really a good idea right now to put 19,000 people inside one building with the president. CBS 4's Omar Villafranca has the latest from Tulsa.
As his supporters lined up in Tulsa, CBS News, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
More than 100,000 people are expected in downtown Tulsa for the weekend events, along with the local police and sheriff deputies, 250 National Guardsmen, and more than 200 state troopers will all be present. Well, Jennifer, we are off to a muggy and steamy start for our Saturday. What is our weekend looking like?
That's right, Carly. It is very humid. In fact, even though temperatures are in the mid-80s right now.
Jennifer, thank you. It is time now for our weekly series, Miami Proud. Since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, we have witnessed how meeting basic needs became a challenge for many, and that neighbors do look out for one another. So here's an example of how help arrived for a group of senior citizens.
Thank you.
The senior residents at Carrie Meek Manor in Overtown have met the COVID-19 imposed restrictions with a pretty positive attitude.
Welcome back. So when you're opening a new stadium, you want to make sure the toilets work, right? That's important. That's what workers at the new Allegiant Stadium were tasked with doing, so they turned on all the water and flushed all of the toilets at the same time to see if the building could handle the pressure. And it did. The stadium is set to open August 22nd with a Garth Brooks concert. The first Raiders preseason game is set for August 27th. Still no word if either event will actually happen, but this we do know. The toilets do flush. And that is good news. Still ahead on CBS 4 this Saturday morning, Port Miami, Port Everglades, both impacted. Major cruise lines making a big announcement on resuming travel up next. And how City of Miami community resource officers are building a special bond with residents in Overtown.
This is CBS 4 News This Morning.
Good Saturday morning, South Florida. I'm Carly Barnett. Thank you for joining us. It's 9:30, and here's what we're working on right now. Another one-day record of confirmed coronavirus cases as reopenings continue. What local leaders are telling businesses to help curb the spread. And more calls for change as the nation commemorates Juneteenth. We have a look at the rallies all around the U.S. And a federal judge is not stopping the former National Security Advisor's controversial memoir from being released. And first this morning, we're going to send it over to meteorologist Jennifer Correa. Jennifer, the first day of summer, even though it's felt like summer for a while now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Carly, I mean, it's South Florida, and down here, you know, it starts feeling like summer as soon as the rainy season starts.
Jennifer, thank you. Now to the reopening of South Florida and the concerning rise in COVID-19 cases that's making news nationwide. Governor Ron DeSantis continued to downplay those numbers, saying expanded testing of younger people is what's leading to the spike. Well, here's what Florida's trend looked like. The state confirmed more than 3,800 new cases yesterday, shattering the previous one-day record. More than 800 of those are in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Each day, the state also announces the percentage of confirmed cases from within that batch of new results. That number has climbed to 10%. And for a little perspective, 2 weeks ago, it was about 3%. So when it comes to this weekend, Miami-Dade is getting tough on people breaking these new normal rules. Restaurants and shops can be ordered to close, and if so, owners would need to get county approval in order to reopen. For Father's Day, leaders are asking loved ones who don't live together to practice social distancing. This is a push to slow the spread of COVID-19. Miami-Dade has seen an increase on cases and patients at the hospital, and the mayor wants business owners to keep an eye on customers and workers, or you must go through several hoops to reopen if you are ordered to close.
It's not going to be a simple, I promise, and you're open in 5 minutes. It's going to be longer than that.
Doctors are seeing hospital stays decrease to around 6 to 7 days. They also believe medicine and experience are helping more people to recover from the virus. In some travel news, no cruises from South Florida or anywhere else for at least another 3 months. All of the major cruise lines extended their shutdown until September 15th, and they say that is at the earliest. And the governor of New York is projecting some incredible optimism, essentially claiming victory over coronavirus.
Working together works. That the only way forward is if I protect you and you protect me. I wear a mask for you and you wear a mask for me. If you care for me and I care for you. We showed that in the end, love does win. Love does conquer all.
New York's daily rate of positive tests is now below 1%. Remember, Florida is hovering just about 10% now. Governor Cuomo is still considering requiring travelers from Florida to New York to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. New York City begins phase 2 of their reopening Monday. There have been more than 24,000 COVID-19 related deaths in New York State. In local news, a deputy-involved shooting in Wilton Manors closed down part of North Andrews Avenue yesterday. And according to witnesses, the deputy rammed into the silver Cadillac behind a rehabilitation center. Now, it's unclear if the man shot at deputies, if at all, before he was shot. Broward Sheriff's Office says those deputies were from Deerfield Beach and part of a crime suppression team that tries to get violent criminals off the streets.
You see units here from the Deerfield Beach District Office. Those units, they were trying to apprehend the suspect from our crime suppression team. You also see internal affairs. This investigation, since it involves a deputy-involved shooting, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they will be the lead investigating agency.
BSO says no one in the nearby rehab center was hurt during the shooting, but the suspect's condition this morning is still unknown. There were several events commemorating Juneteenth all across South Florida. The city of Miami Beach formally commemorated the day for the first time. June 19th is recognized as the anniversary of the end of slavery in the United States. And at this event, a rainbow eucalyptus tree meant to symbolize unity was planted. And there was an 8-minute, 46-second moment of silence. In cities both big and small, thousands took to the streets to mark the 155th Juneteenth. As CBS 4's Skylar Henry reports from Washington, there is growing momentum in the efforts to make Juneteenth a national holiday.
In Oakland, California, they demanded justice. CBS News, Washington.
And still ahead on CBS 4 this Saturday morning, reopened, but then closed again. Apple's reasons for shutting down stores in several states, including here in Florida. And commemorating Juneteenth with the opening of a new creamery is in some ice cream. We like the sound of that. CBS 4 this Saturday morning. We'll be right back.
He's trying to.
Now to the latest on the Trump presidency. President Trump says his administration will continue its efforts to end legal protections for immigrants who were brought here illegally as children by their parents. This comes after the Supreme Court upheld those protections this week under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, program. It's important to note that the Supreme Court's decision does not guarantee these immigrants their rights long term, only that the argument made to repeal them was insufficient. And a federal judge is not stopping the former National Security Advisor's controversial memoir from being released next week. The Justice Department has sued to keep John Bolton's The Room Where It Happened from going on sale next Tuesday. But at a hearing, the judge told lawyers that since so many copies are already leaked, he probably cannot do anything. President Trump claims the book is full of classified information. The book's publisher is Simon & Schuster. That's a division of Viacom CBS. The Navy captain fired for blowing the whistle about COVID-19 on his aircraft carrier will not be returning to his command. Navy leadership decided the decision to remove Captain Brett Crozier as commander of the USS Theodore Roosevelt will stand. In April, he wrote a memo warning Navy leadership that decisive action was needed to save the lives of the ship's crew. There ended up being hundreds of cases of the virus on board. Crozier was later blamed for not doing his part to stop the spread and evacuate the ship in Guam. Taking a look at the road to reopening just weeks after opening back up, Apple says it is now closing 11 stores in Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida because of health risks. With the exception of North Carolina, those states reported their highest 7-day averages of new coronavirus cases per day. The company began opening more than 30 stores last month after shutting down all of its U.S. locations in March because of the pandemic. And a quick reversal from movie theater chain AMC. Everyone will have to wear a mask at its theaters when they open back up next month. AMC had previously said masks would not be required, and they did not want to be drawn into what they called a political controversy. Well, it took only minutes for people on social media to blast the company for that stance, so the decision was changed yesterday. Well, the annual Miami Youth Fair was canceled this year, but that didn't stop fair food from coming back into town. Last night, with new safety measures and social distancing, vendors got the chance to cook up elephant ears, fried Oreos, and some other sweet treats for families to enjoy.
This year, this is the best we can do with the current situation. Right now, anything to bring a little joy and happiness into the kids' life, you know?
It's just delicious. It's year-round, once in a while, where you can get out and just enjoy carnival food, you know, at its best.
The event runs this weekend at the fairgrounds on Southwest 24th Street. You and your family can grab a bite from 4 until 9 p.m. I will take the fried Oreos, please, and thank you. Always love those treats when the fair comes into town. All right, if you are heading out this weekend, Jennifer has a look at our forecast. Jen.
Hey Carly, I'll take the elephant ears. I love the elephant ears and I haven't had one in quite some time. All right, if you're going to be out and about, take the rain gear with you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And back on the road to reopening. Speaking of the start of summer, Overtown's newest creamery is open for business. Along the 900 block of Northwest 2nd Avenue, Red Rooster opened its doors. In celebration of Juneteenth, which marks the end of slavery in the United States, guests were treated to ice cream sundaes.
This is a day of celebrating our resilience, a day of celebrating African-American prosperity and sort of a strong, moving forward work ethic, regardless of our circumstances.
The restaurant portion of the building is expected to open its doors in the next coming months to serve full meals to customers. Over the past month, police officers across the country have been in the headlines for the wrong reasons. The terrible acts of a handful of officers has tarnished much of their image. But the city of Miami has a special group, the Neighborhood Resource Officers, who have built a special bond with the residents of Overtown. CBS 4 photojournalist Ralph Murciano walked the streets with them and shares their stories.
Thank you. See you later. We have to bridge the gap between police and the community.
Welcome back. The Heat and the Marlins are helping to drive the conversation about social injustice. The Heat in particular used Juneteenth as a jumping off point to make a commitment in the push for equality.
Our country is at a crossroads.
Now to this week's Heroes Among Us. Every week, in partnership with the Florida Panthers, we put the spotlight on a hero among us, men or women who have gone beyond the call of duty for our country. CBS 4's Maribel Rodriguez introduces us to U.S. Navy retired hospital corpsman Chris Blakesley.
First Class Blakesley served in the United States Navy from 1980 to 2000.